Just quickly, interesting, Nikki MacDonald was saying, I don't know if you've seen that they've government gazetted now all the non-payers of that are in arrears of pension and provident fund contributions.
Sure.
Yeah, it's quite, I mean, I didn't realize it was so bad. But she just went through the percentages of people or employers that are in arrears like for more than 24 months. Even going up to 5 years, yeah.
Like
And
the
I mean,
ANC.
well, Dirk's, guess who some of the employers are? Some of the government employers. Yes,
It's crazy.
municipalities.
We do that, we'll get arrested.
Exactly.
I mean, even on a Friday.
Even.
Not
Yeah,
this early.
so that was just quite interesting. I enjoy listening to what Nikki's got to say because she always updates on the latest, whatever's going on in our world.
Okay.
Okay, guys, let's get going. So I know we've touched on this before.
That's not me.
That's Mark. I've muted him. I know we've touched on this before, and it's there've been a few comments on the WhatsApp group around risk, and I think it's obviously really important because I think a lot of the kind of IWP stuff that we talk around, or the planning that we talk around, often features around investments and funds for retirement and all that, and risk is maybe a bit neglected. So I thought I would share what we do because as it happens, like just things keep on evolving, and we keep trying to make things better and do things better, and we've actually we've made some changes in the last while, which I think are working very well for us. In fact, from the point of view that we found that a lot of very often clients they've got this block of risk cover that they've basically been sold. They had a bond, or they got a wife and kids, or a husband and kids, and but they don't really know what it means. And we've got your traditional cover, which is a block of cover, and then you've got riders on it, and then you've got some standalone benefits and income protection, and then you've got the Bright Rocks, which do it a little bit differently, and all of that. So and risk, in the old days was a lot easier, was a lot simpler because there was less choice, quite simply. So with all this, the new options out there, it's made us re-look at the whole things. So we'll just say up front, we don't favor any company because everyone's got the best life cover, everyone's got the best disability, and everyone's got the best rare disease income protection. So we're not going to go into those debates. But what we've done is we've decided just to spend a lot more time looking at how we advise our clients on the risk they need in place, and simply because it is a grudge buy, but we realize that if they understand why they have what they have, it makes a lot more sense to them, and that's kind of the approach we've taken, just to do our job better than we would normally do it, and it has worked quite well. So I know everyone's looking for like golden rules, golden threads, rules of thumb, which are convenient but also very lazy. We do have some though. So, and when it comes to dread disease, we see dread disease as a benefit that should be done for life, because as we get older, obviously we're more prone to cancer and heart attacks and things. So we see, if we're going to market dread disease, we do it for life. We also do it on a level premium, because the last thing we want as we get older is premiums escalating, especially age-rated things like that. And then also, so I will mention what BrightRock, they have the paid up option. I don't know if other companies have that, but it's quite a nice benefit to look at as well, because at a certain age, you obviously pay more initially, but you get to a certain age, whatever you choose, 65 or 70, and then the contributions stop, but the benefit continues to increase at 4%, which is quite handy. One more thing on dread disease, we find a lot of people are oversold they've got millions of rands of disease, and they're on a medical aid, they're on a top-up plan. It is the most expensive benefit out there, and we often think it's just taking affordability away that should be spent elsewhere. And probably rare disease is also kind of the last benefit when it comes to affordability. If a client's got a medical aid and a top-up, it's a nice to have, but it is expensive. So that's how we look at it. When it comes to income protection, again, what we're doing is because we are able to now, we pushing that to age 70, just because it makes a lot of sense. We see a lot more clients that are working later, not because they have to always, because they can and they want to. And people are, as we know, living a lot longer. So it just makes sense. Income protection is probably in my view, probably the most powerful benefit that there is, especially when people are younger, because it replaces their earning capacity for the majority of their life. So those are golden rules. So what we've done, as always we have put together a PowerPoint presentation, which I'm going to share with you. And I'm going to breeze through this, and I'm happy to share it with anyone who would like to share it with us. Ben put this together for us, Ben and Alex. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, cool. All right. So what we've done is we have the process we take our clients through, and then when we do the big reveal, we do touch on the risk. But we've just realized that in a lot of cases, the risk discussion needs a lot more detail. So we actually running this now as a separate meeting, especially where you've got older clients who've just, you can see they've had risk cover for years. It's pretty meaningless to them in most cases. It doesn't mean they don't need it. And they've got different kinds of premium patterns, and basically they don't know what they've got. So we take them through this presentation. So it's just a quick agenda. And I'm going to really breeze through this. So we just define obviously what risk cover is. We talk about term and whole life. We talk about waiting periods. It's obviously mainly on disability, and then what it's basically used for. This is obvious to us, but basically the two main needs are to cover debt and to provide income. So yeah, so these are all the reasons. Get onto disability. We talk about, a lot of people aren't aware, lump sum and income disability, how they work and where the benefits are. So we run through this with them. And obviously by now we do know the client, so we try and make it quite specific. A lot of people we deal with are self-employed. Rare disease, people really don't understand what that is. And then we talk about premium patterns. This is again something that most clients don't realize. So we just run through this with them, and we try and keep it at quite a high level. And then obviously the things that affect premiums, and yeah, so run through the whole underwriting process and all of this. We explain what loadings are, smoking for the smokers, to try and get them to stop, and then we talk about exclusion. So these are really these are very simple things that we discuss, and we just find that taking clients through an explanation helps, and now and then they'll ask some questions around that. Okay, I see someone's joined. I'm just going to mute Barry. Okay. Will someone just let that person in? Okay, I'll let them in. It's Brian. Okay. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Morning.
Morning, Mike. Okay, so I'm sure what we all do is we get a client to fill out a budget. So we've got a budget form. And then what we do is we've just changed it. So what we've done is we will actually get clients in, and we sit with the original budget that they may have, the whole breakdown. And then, as you can see, we start running through every single line item that there is in the budget. I'm just going to stop sharing because let somebody in here. Shannon. So you guys, you saw that spreadsheet. So what we find is really helpful is we sit them down as a couple, and after we've been through the risk presentation, they now understand their budget. So we've worked through their budget with them. We've done kind of the IWP when it comes to how their lifestyle financial plan looks, their life plan. And then we find it very helpful that we sit with them and you say, right, okay, now there's probably a good chance that you're not going to die or get maimed. We try and make light of it, but the reality is it can happen. And then what we do is we will run through every line item. So the bond, for instance, so we say, okay, well, obviously we're going to settle the debt. So we make an assumption that the house gets paid off, cars get paid off, and then we say, okay, if something happens to the breadwinner, the surviving spouse, do you need to live in this house? So there's an asset of whatever the value of the property is, and then we say, what car do you need to drive this car? Do you need to drive the Merc, or could you drive a Toyota or a VW? And we just find, so you can see what we're doing. We're running through every single line item, and they sit and they discuss it, because very often they haven't discussed these things. Very often it's just someone will buy someone a car because they think they like that car or they want the car. But they start realizing that all these things come at a cost of something else. And the beauty with this is eventually then we get to, and we're not even talking about the cost of cover now. So what we really focus on the need, and we talk about the high road and the low road. So what's nice to have, because we know that, it's very seldom that someone passes on, the lump sum pays out, and the surviving person lives happily ever after, because life changes. They meet someone else, or they make a lifestyle change, or whatever. So we just found by doing it this way, first of all, it makes them take ownership of the cover that they're going to need, because now they're also going to understand that all this comes at a cost. So if I want to drive the Merc, not only is it costing me more, but it's actually, we're going to need more cover for that. There's nothing wrong with driving the Merc, by the way. What we also then able to do is we're going to say, right, some of these needs, like for instance, if it's kids that are at school or at varsity, or maybe certain hobbies or things, some of them are only going to be around for a certain amount of time. Like for instance, the bond. So we have assumed we're going to settle the car, we're going to settle the house, and we'll talk about those things. But very often, what we can do is we can say, well, okay, the bond's going to be paid off in 5 years' time or 6 years' time. So what we can do is we can say, okay, let's take that block, that R1,000,000 or whatever that amount is, and instead of doing that on a level premium, let's choose an age-rated premium or an aggressive premium with that, because we know that in 5 years' time, you're either not going to have that debt, or it's going to be significantly reduced. And then, when it comes to the car, for instance, okay, you're going to need one family car for so long. So we straight away, we're able to say, okay, so this part of your cover, we can go with this kind of premium pattern, or we can go term cover, for instance. So there are not many companies that do term cover, unfortunately, but we can look at that. So let's do term for this part of what the need is. And in the end of the day, we basically then get the clients to, they're kind of signing off the risk cover that they need. So they're saying, and then obviously, so what Ben's also done, is Ben here? Ben, are you here? No, he's not here. Okay. So, and we'll share that with you. But what he's done is he's created a really cool Excel spreadsheet, and he's actually put in there. So we work out the cover the client actually has, say per 100,000, and we actually get a rate. So we get a rand rate on that. So what they're actually paying, and then when we sit with them and we look at Andre, and when we then, so let's say we've called for quotes with Liberty, BrightRock, whoever we have. So companies that, and we kind of work with companies where we get great service we battle to work with companies where we don't get great service. So it's, you know, we understand all of the best of everything. And then what we're able to do is we're able to say, well, look, if we go with this company, we actually list the companies, and in the spreadsheet, we can then say, this is the rate that you're going to pay. So on age rated, like if it was going to be, let's say the currently paying 80 Rand per 100,000 or whatever it is, with this company, it'll be 65 or it'll be 72 or whatever. So we can straight away give them an idea of the level of cover that and what the cost actually is going to be. So and you know, because I know earlier last week in the chat, someone was talking about a new app or product that's coming out where they're going to compare all the rates and everything, and it sounds wonderful. So I'm not going to knock it because I haven't seen it. But I think the reality is that every client, every couple you sit with, their situation is fundamentally different. There are going to be some things that are the same, but there's always going to be something that's different. And it may just be in the way that they're actually viewing their cover. So first of all, with our spreadsheet, we get them to take absolute ownership for the cover. So they sign off and they say, okay, we agree that this is the cover that we need. And then we'll sit down and we'll say, okay, look, based on what you say the need is, we can do this cover, we can do with an age-rated premium or an aggressive premium. This cover, we're doing, it's your dread disease. This cover we're going to do on a flat premium because it's forever, it's for life, or we're going to even make it paid up if we look at the Bright Rock option, for instance. You know, income protection we're going to do till age 70 or whatever. And even then, like with that benefit, we could say, because of the breakthrough points, it actually pays to put that on an age-rated premium or to do it level or whatever we do. But we get the client to take full ownership of what they have. They now understand. I mean, and lately the clients we've done this with, it's been clients who are older, even like my age, and they've accepted in a few cases that they've needed to double what they're currently spending on their risk cover. We hate selling risk because we feel like salespeople, but the fact is, if there is the need, there is the need. So it's quite interesting, and there's been absolutely no resistance, because when we sit with it, like they've sat there and they've said, okay, and I said, like, what do you want to do? And said, oh, well, we need to do it. You know, they're making that decision. So it's really helped. And it adds a lot of sense to the risk discussion, instead of, you know, saying you need 2 million Rand for the bond and let's get quotes from everyone. And okay, there we go, pick and choose which one we want. So yeah, so that's what we're doing. Comments, guys?
So I work very similar. I also, these companies that Eva put on last week, it's some companies going to be doing all these comparisons. If you go onto any one of the insurers' websites, they actually do their own comparisons, and of course, they always come out the best. But I think every single client is, like you say, Dirk, it's you know, they're each specific and have their own circumstances. So you've just got to, I don't believe that there's any company out there that's the best or that has got the best product, you know. So you've just got to find what fits for you and fits for your practice, and maybe use that as a benchmark. And also we pretty much work with whoever we get service from. Right now, it's not a lot. No, we don't. I mean, some of our consultants have been taken away from us because we don't meet their targets, which is shocking. Because at the end of the day, we've also got to service our clients. You know, so yeah, but we pretty much work the same.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mel. Brian, you got your hand up?
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to ask, can you just explain quickly the exact order of events that you do like I know you do the life planning. It's obviously planning for retirement, investing and saving and such. Then after that, is it a separate session where you do the educational presentation on risk and then the risk planning and then quotes? Or can you just explain the order of events and if there are meetings or not?
You, Brian, was going to throw me a curveball.
Yeah.
So Brian, yeah, it's a great question. So It is new. I'm echoing somewhere. Okay, so we've kind of felt our way around this. So what works well is, because like we hate selling, okay, right? Which is ridiculous, but we hate selling still. So I would say it depends on the client. So if it's, so Alex isn't here, he's in Mauritius at the moment, lucky chap. But if it's a younger client, then generally the life plan is quite simple, because you know, young people they're paying off bonds and cars, and they're starting their careers and building it. So we can get through that fairly quickly. And then the one thing that generally they need to pay attention to is protecting their future income. Okay, so we can work through that a bit quicker. You know, where, let's say, more mature clients like myself, you know, there generally is a lot more that goes into the original life plan first, so lifestyle plan. And we just find that if we cover too much together, it can get lost. So remember, we building long-term relationships, we have the view that the more we can meet with clients, the better. We can just build trust and build in that relationship. So we kind of get that out the way first. And then once they've done that, we say, okay, now, so we got the plan, it's great. But however, if you don't have your cover in place, it's all kind of meaningless. So then we have this separately. So we initially, we've run the budget meeting as a meeting. And the thing there is, it doesn't take too long. So we run the budget meeting, and then we go and get the quotes. It's like what we do as well. We don't find out how much money a client's got and then say, okay, let's start a relationship. Again, not a great business decision, but we just believe once you see the money, you've drunk from the poison chalice. So that's our view, but I'm not saying that's right. So we just find if we're able to focus on that budget meeting properly, because if it's done well, I mean, that can take a while. Because we've got a couple sitting there talking about, like, do I need the Merc or don't I need the Merc? You know, are the kids going to go study overseas, or, like, you know, can they stay at home and go to UP and do it through correspondence? They're very broad things. So there's a lot of discussion there. So we find, and again, what happens is, so we keep it separate where we can, because then when they come back and we've got all the quotes, and again, we also need to digest this, because, you know, when we start that budget meeting, the reality is we haven't got a perceived outcome that we herding them into. We're literally sitting there, okay, are we going to hear stuff that maybe we didn't expect to hear? So then it makes sense that we can only then go away and do the quotes. You know, like we say, well, you're going to pay off the house in 5 years, and they say, well, actually, no, we're going to do an alteration for R1 million, or we actually moving to Plet, and it's going to cost us more. So it's very difficult to kind of do the quotes beforehand, because you kind of making an assumption that are all rights we shouldn't be making. So the downside is, yeah, it takes more time. We don't see that as a downside. We see that as something positive. And then when we then bring them in, and we've got the quotes, and we've got what we believe is the answer that's suitable for them, and we present it to them, they've had time to digest the process and think about it and even discuss it further. So they might come and say, look, we thought about this, but hang on, what about that? And then we're able to make those changes. So it does work. It does work better doing it separately, I believe. Does it take more time? Definitely. But again, we're looking at building relationships. We're not looking to have 1,000 clients. We're looking to have those meaningful relationships. So, yeah.
I 100% agree. I do it kind of like similarly. I think a lot of us do, because you do this long enough, you start realizing the order of events. What I do with the budget, so I have the same thing with the columns. And what I do is I do that in the risk planning, like the cash flow planning for death and disability. So we'll get to that, and then I'll open it and I'll quickly educate them on what they're seeing. Then I go back to the budget and I'll say, I'm not just going to take a stupid rule of thumb. We're going to do this properly. And like you said, it stimulates the conversation. It's kind of morbid sometimes, but at the same time, we have to have it. But and then afterwards, I will go about and get when I present kind of the product proposals, like now we're going to turn this plan into real life. What products do you need? We will then, in the background, I'll run around and get the quotes and that. What's really cool about listening to you and hearing also Mel say this is it's what separates, I think, a lot of planners from the smokers. They will rush to that sale. And that's why they use rules of thumb, 75% income replacement ratio, which is complete rubbish. And they'll use things like that, but it's to get to that sale. So I don't think you have to feel bad that at the end of the day you have to sell life cover. What you're doing is it's genuinely the outcome of a well thought through and robust process and a collaborative process. The first time I ever got cover, my wife, and the second time as well, was a 45-minute meeting at my house with a broker with a laptop. And everything was signed and done, and I had cover. I didn't even understand it. And so to me, I think it's a lot of potential meetings with clients, but they probably see this guy is trying not to sell me something. He's trying to solve a problem. And I think that's the difference. And that's what the clients at the end of the day is paying for.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, the clients, they understand for the first time. We think they actually understand what they've got and why they've got it. I mean, I know they're going to kind of forget it like 3 weeks later, but they will know that they had a meaningful discussion about it. And yeah, and I think to be quite honest, it's the only way we should do it. Like, if we're not doing it this way, quite frankly, if you're rushing any part of what we do, you're not doing it properly. So, I mean, there. Okay, Ryan, you got your hand up.
Yes. Thank you so much. I agree a lot in what you said, Dirk, and I also approach a lot of what you do similarly. Maybe just also asking, maybe many advisors like myself are curious. I mean, we can do these exercises for clients and go through the whole process, but they might be in a position where they have existing cover, and we're recommending, entails probably replacing that. How do we go about in the right way, completing documents like the replacement record of advice, and not also running the risk of any fingers being pointed back at us saying, you're in principle, like, I agree with what you're saying, but did you know, like, I'm covered for this under this benefit with my existing cover, now you're replacing that and I'm not covered. I'm not an expert in all these products. And sometimes that's where I feel a little bit unconfident in terms of the risk process. But yeah, keen to hear some thoughts on how everybody approaches it.
Yeah, Ryan, that's a great point. I think most people on this call, I keep saying we hate sales because we do, but the fact is, and this process actually makes setting quite easy because we're servicing a need that we've uncovered together with the client. We haven't convinced them; they've actually told us what they need. Ryan, you know what? You fill out a replacement form. You just fill it out honestly. It's quite simple. If someone's got own or similar disability, as my one client called it, well, if you've got to be a drooler to claim, then it's not worth the paper it's written on. That was a client's words, not mine. I was trying to explain the difference between the old own or similar MEL, that we used to get, versus specific occupational disability. He said, "Oh, so you mean a drooler?" That's it, yeah. So I think if you're replacing cover, so obviously life cover is life cover. You can't be half dead. And when it comes to disability, it needs to be as specific as possible to what the client's occupation is. And you get all these bells and whistles where, if you cut your right toe or get nicked in the left ear, I mean, it's all a load of rubbish. It absolutely is. Just makes these products more expensive. They've got absolutely no benefit. Insurance is not there to enrich you. It's there to put you back in the position that you would have been had that incident not occurred. It's like all these guys that we pay 200%. Like, why do the need is 100%? Why? I don't want 200%. I just want what I'm paying for, because you are paying for it. Okay. So Ryan, I think being maybe younger and newer in the industry, once you've worked through, so when you get a situation and a client's got existing cover, maybe the premium pattern isn't favorable, so you can change your premium pattern. So with most companies, you can keep the cover in place and simply change the premium pattern. So sometimes what you're saying is sometimes you're actually not going to sell something additional because the client has cover in place, and you can make changes to that cover. Certainly, we need to do that where it's in their interests. We had a client recently where she had cover in place. It was really old. It was life cover, so on a really good rate. So we left that in place, and we just topped it up with what she needed, and she fully understood that. We've had other cases where we've replaced it because the disability is completely not specific. There's very little chance of them paying out, and we could get them better cover there. So I think, Ryan, you just it's quite simple. You know, if you're doing the job properly, you're filling out a replacement form. There's no guilt. You're doing what's right for the client at the time. What was sold to them before could have been right at that time, or it could have been the only benefit that was available. But I think of all the benefits we look at, disability is probably the most important and needs to be paid the most attention to. When someone passes away, it's very sad, but life goes on. But disability, if those of you who have family or friends that have had it happen, it's really severe, and it can affect the family in ways far worse than someone passing. Who else has got their hand up?
Can I come in here?
Yeah, sure.
Ryan, so I'm just hearing two things there, Ryan. When I started in this industry, I had an absolute fear of, you know, if I had to do a replacement, you know, so Dirk was saying about half a leg and one toe and all of that. And because there's so many product providers out there, you literally cannot know everything. But as I progressed in the industry, you sort of move from a space of where you will get to is where you're moving from a space of trying to focus on, you know, you're almost sweating that small stuff, which isn't really small stuff, but you're looking at a bigger picture of identifying a solution, but also identifying an opportunity. And what I mean by identifying an opportunity is where you're looking at the client's portfolio, and most of the time, I'm sure most of the advisors here on this group will agree that most of the time we're fixing a broker's mess. And when I say broker, it's somebody who's just sold a product and moved on. And I mean, we don't do a lot of risk, but the risk that we do, even in the last couple of months. And that's why I'm saying, rather look at an opportunity where you're looking at a holistic process with a client, where you're getting all the information up front. They might not necessarily say to you, well, look at my IP, my income protection, but part of your holistic planning, they might come to you and say they want an RA or want to invest money, whatever, but you create the opportunity. We say, okay, we'll give you an opinion on your risk cover when you've got all the documentation. And that's what I'm saying, most of the time you'll end up fixing by doing proper financial planning, where we see on occasion, well, most of the times people have got IP, they've just been sold, and we work mainly with business owners. And you'll find, and most of you who are business owners know that you will pay yourself a lower salary and put a lot through your business to not pay tax. And so it is the same with business owners, and they've been sold RP of, let's say, 30,000 Rand, but their RP5 is only 10,000 Rand, for example. And the opportunity that lies therein is not going in and saying, well, I've got to replace it because it's not right. No, you are going to, you can minimize it and give them an overhead expense benefit, you know. So, and that's the opportunity that you start working with to give them a solution that works for them, you know, so that at the end of the day, when they come to claim, they're going to be able to claim on their business and on their IP, because, you know, they're not going to have to prove 30,000 Rand. So I think as time goes by, you know, maybe, I don't know how many younger planners are on here. I mean, I think it's part of your journey in this industry is to, you know, just be careful of getting sucked into that detail and sitting and analyzing and trying to analyze all these product providers and who pays what, and getting sucked into that detail with the clients. At the end of the day, you're paying something and they must pay out. Whether you've lost a foot or a hand or had a stroke, and we only give the best of the best rare disease cover. I don't even give the clients an option of reduced cover or all these others that are cheaper, which brokers sell because it's a quick sale. So you decide in your practice. We will give the best of the breed rare disease cover. We will give the best of breed RP. I mean, we use FMI and for RP, but I think as you journey along, you're going to find that you will mature more in the space of finding an opportunity and solution for the clients, but be careful of getting sucked into the actual detail. And the replacements advice records, I just want to give you one example. I had a client who came to me. They had had a huge fallout with their broker, who was a discovery broker. And the broker had cost her 200,000 Rand. They never took into consideration that her retrenchment package was part of her, formed part of her 500,000, and she'd taken money out of her provident fund, and she ended up paying tax anyway. And she had a discovery policy, and she literally wanted to move everything away from this guy. And I said to her, there's nothing wrong with it. So there's nothing wrong with it. So you can keep it. And she said, I want nothing to do with discovery, the broker. She was adamant. So we did replace it. But on my replacement advice record, I stipulated that the client, there's no change in the benefits, but that the client was adamant that they wanted to. I made the client sign a letter stating why she wanted to replace it. She signed that. I sent it with my replacement advice record. And in that case, we didn't need to replace it. And I mean, it took me about 6 months. I delayed her, and I said, okay, let's think about it. Come back to me. Let's talk about it again. And she just said to me, if you don't replace it, I'm going to go to somebody else. So in that case, we sent the replacement advice record through, exactly the same benefits, with a letter saying the client insisted on replacing it because of this experience with the broker, with the discovery broker. So in all instances, you're not going to always submit a replacement advice record that is better. And to be quite honest, I don't actually know who looks at those, because I'm amazed at how many discovery brokers replace policies and get away with it.
Yeah, and they're not full out, honestly. Anyway, Dylan, you got your hand up.
I do indeed. I fully agree. I think half the time we spend our time fixing up errors. I mean, just the other day I had someone who came to me and their brother had a short stint as an advisor, and it was quite interesting. He didn't even take their EB benefits into account. He ended up writing them PPS policies. They're both full-time employed, and they got 7-day waiting periods on their income protection. So it was quite interesting. They had 2 sets of income protection each, husband and wife. So I think half the time, yeah, it is just fixing a mess and not really getting into the nitty-gritty of benefits. And because I think we all have various companies calling on us on a weekly basis, telling us that they're the best because they have 356 different claim criteria versus this one who groups them. And yeah, it's quite funny. But what I wanted to bring up was just the topic around premium patterns, because I feel like a lot of people, especially from the BrightRock side, have seen it. They go on about long-term and premium patterns and sustainability. But I feel the counter argument is that people's lives change so often. Why would you be keeping the same cover for 30 years? So I used to be all about, okay, very, let's say, sustainable premium patterns. But now I'm like, okay, if it's a young person, they're looking at perhaps having a child, or they're going to change jobs multiple times. They're going to have a bond. It's quite an interesting one. It's like, do you just look at the age-rated side of things for short-term and make the assumption that it's going to have to be replaced or re-looked at soon? Or do you look at that long-term sustainable premium pattern?
I think, Dylan, you've got to deal with what's in front of you. However, the biggest risk that you run is that someone becomes uninsurable. And you don't have to be my age for that to happen to you. Okay. You can there are more and more younger people who have got very rare things that happen, and the next thing is they are completely uninsurable. Anyone who's ever been through anything traumatic, like supporting Spurs, I go through it all the time. The first thing a doctor recommends is to put you on some sort of a pill. I know very few young women who, by the time they finish varsity, have not been recommended some sort of antidepressant or something else by a doctor or a psychologist or whatever, because it's just like, and you know, once you've looked at one of those things, every company treats you like you're going to jump off the nearest bridge for the rest of your life. We've actually had a case where we managed to get that exclusion removed, and it wasn't because there was a threat, it just was a matter of principle. This chap had been through a difficult time. One of his brothers committed suicide, and he went for counseling for a period of a year, and he was prescribed something, but then he hadn't been on it for the last 3 years. So we eventually so you actually can get it removed, but the problem is you get labeled. So becoming uninsurable is a very, very real risk and cannot be underestimated. So, but you can change premium patterns. So, I mean, we've even done where because of affordability, older clients put them. I've got a client who I can think of who's in his 60s, and needed cover desperately to take care of debt and his wife. And to get the maximum cover that he would need, we did do it on a age-rated premium, but with full knowledge that in 7 or 8 years' time, when his business is up and running and certain things have changed, we can reduce that cover and move into a level premium. So we're able to do that. So to me, that's the way you've got to think about risk cover, is you've got to look at what's in front of you, but you've got to be very careful of someone becoming uninsurable, because it's a very, very real threat. It's not something that might happen. I don't know if anyone has a view on that.
So who was that was talking?
Dylan.
Sorry, Dylan. So with me, I actually take each client as they come. But I agree with Dirk, is you've got to understand the if they do become uninsurable, and I'm sitting with a problem at the, well, it's not my problem, but we took a client over and he had a, I don't know if some of you will remember, I think you do still get them as the renewable premium pattern. So his premium, I've got to approach the company now, and he is now uninsurable since we've been dealing with him. We actually picked up on medicals. He had lung function problems, and yeah, we've managed to get him cover a couple of years ago, but it was like 100% loading. But this cover that he's got that's coming up now in December, it's the only policy he's got that's got some dread disease cover, but it's literally going from like 4 grand to 8,500 rand. And we cannot cancel it because we need the cover. So yeah, I think you've just got to be really careful, and we show the clients the different premium patterns, and I think they break even in year 7 if you do the analysis across the different premium patterns. So sometimes it can work to give somebody an age-rated premium. I've got a client who's going through a hectic divorce at the moment, and she needed to save money wherever we could, and we've actually changed her premium patterns to age-rated. With obviously in my notes, I've said that, you know, after the divorce, we'll put it back to her fixed. We use 5 and 5, fixed 5 and 5. If I see the client's not healthy, then we'll do a level. So I think you've just got to take each case as it comes.
I agree, yeah.
Okay, pretty much the same. No, I was going to say, sorry, it's pretty much the same methodology that I am using. I just thought there might be a few more radical stances on this, but it seems only the broker consultants seem to have those stances, because I guess that's how they get their business. What I can say is that Discovery clearly prices their products in a way that they're meant for a short duration, especially when people start falling out of the goal.
That's
anyway,
special.
that's for another day. That's another whole session.
Yeah, so I think the risk we run with Discovery is it's a lot more complicated. So it's not just a premium pattern, it's the whole integration thing, that if someone changes medical aid or doesn't go to gym, and a lot of that is beyond your control. So I mean, yeah, we're not going to have that discussion. Shannon, you've had your hand up for a while.
Yeah, Dirk, just to share my input on it. You know, I give the clients comparisons, and I let them make the choice, with the understanding being that they can potentially become uninsurable. But at least we know at that point in time, even if they are uninsurable, the cover is still in place. Yes, it might be very costly cover, but they do have the cover in place. So that's one thing I believe. So for me, for a younger client, we want to give them the maximum amount of cover at the lowest sustainable solution, because then they can redivert that additional money into savings for their long-term plan. So that's really where I come from. I also believe in keeping things simple. I don't get into nitty-gritty, aside from disability where it's important. But like with all the bells and whistles and that, and I say to them up front, I keep it simple. This is what it is. If you want more complex, well, then go to a broker and sit and have the discussion. We've identified the shortfalls. You can either fill the shortfalls using us, or you can go to another expert out there and they can plug the product in. And that brings me back to another thing that we do is zero commission. So the risk cover is part of the financial planning process. I'm charging a client a financial planning fee for that. I don't need to be paid commission for that. That's just a solution that's been plugged in, and we're doing it on a fee basis. I'd be interested to hear if any other people work like that.
Thanks,
So
Shannon.
I take commission and I charge the planning fee. So, but by the time we've done the cover, we've worked with the client probably for 6 months. And I think we've been doing this for 18. I've been doing this for 18 years. And even during COVID, I didn't even have anybody cancelling, or because they understand the importance. But I mean, we take commission on I'm not a practice at the moment where I've got millions and millions of AUM, but we do charge a financial planning fee to do the estate plan or the investment plan. But I'll make hay while the sun shines for me.
Yeah, the problem I've always had with commissions, sorry, Dirk, is that, you know, whether I'm sitting with a young client or an older client, I don't want my earnings related to the premium. I want it related to the work that I'm doing for the client. And, you know, that's where I kind of, this whole commission thing just doesn't sit well with me in my head, in that I'm going to charge a fee for this process. And whether your premium is 1,000 Rand or the premium is 100 Rand to cover your shortfall, the amount of work I've done is the same. So just pay me the same amount. So, you know, it might be a case of where on the commission side, you're basically using guys with higher premiums to subsidize the guys with the lower premiums. That's just my take on it.
Yeah, look, we're not going to get into a fee discussion, but my very strong view, because there are a lot of young people on the school, young in age and young in the industry, there's absolutely nothing wrong with taking commission. Swings and roundabouts, you need to survive, you've got to feed your family. We'd rather have great planners earning commission than people leaving the industry because they can't afford to look after themselves. So it's a very personal thing.
I started off that way, so yeah, I'm not doing it. Okay.
And Shannon, one area I do disagree with you is we don't let the clients make the choice. We will put in front of them acceptable, because it's like going to a doctor and we're saying, yeah, well, which tablet do you want to take? So I'm not judging you. I'm saying what we do is we will go in, and very often it's not the cheapest premium. I will say we'd rather go with this supplier because of X, Y, Z. And even if it's more, clients take the advice and they implement what we advise. We are experts. And I think the minute you're giving people a choice, I mean, I would say if a doctor said to me, you can do this or you can do this, I'd be like, this like doesn't know what he's doing. So that's just my view.
No, Dirk, so don't get me wrong, it's a guided choice. So yes, we will tell them why we think a particular route is the better route to go. And it could be quite often a case, and this has happened with clients, where quite often I will fire a client because they don't want to go with what we're suggesting, because again, the client's not fitting in. We're going to have to carry the can down the road. So, you know, these are the kinds of things. It's a guided choice. So I'm not just sitting back and letting them make the choice carte blanche. There's a process, there's a discussion to it, like anything within the financial planning process.
Cool. Barry, you got your hand up?
Yeah, so one just a comment and then a question. And so it's a bit of an admin question. It'll be so the comment to start with is just looking at the videos there. People that have put their cameras on. Just want to mention it's World Cup, people. It starts today. I want to see those. I want to see those block jerseys. I don't see them there. So Book Friday, guys.
What time? What time?
In the admin question, two separate people have said that they seem to suggest that they changed the premium pattern. Can you do that on existing cover? It sounds like you can.
Yeah, you can.
Okay, cool. Thank
Yeah.
you. That was a useful learning.
It's not
But-
advertised because it's more profitable to sell
No,
something new.
but that's subject to underwriting. So you
Correct,
cannot
yeah.
change a premium pattern. The client has to go for medicals.
Not always. Well, not always.
Well,
Okay,
anyone
so-
that we've done, you've had to.
So what I'm hearing is you can change the premium pattern. It may have some sort of impact on underwriting, but not necessarily. But there's no replacement policy or any of that sort of documentation required. Just keep the
No.
record of it.
Not that I know of.
Yeah. So they've got to, because I know we've done it recently where there wasn't any medical required at all. So, I mean, that's probably if anyone feels like doing a bit of research, maybe go out to some of the companies and let the group know who will and won't require medicals. But I
I've never had
know
one.
we've recently done with Liberty and with Discovery, and there were no medicals required because there wasn't a fundamental change to the benefit. But I know that companies would differ on that.
But I think
Yeah.
I think perhaps if you're changing a premium pattern and it's affecting the benefit increase, if the benefit is going to increase higher, then perhaps they will definitely require underwriting, because you can't find out today that you have got cancer and you're going to change your age rates of premium to level.
Sure. No, perfect. Yeah. Ryan, you got your hand up?
Thank you.
I've never had one.
Yeah. I have a suggestion for the group. Dirk, obviously you can also let me know if you're comfortable with this. But the more I hear everyone speak, the more I hear that there's a vast difference or not vast difference, but there's different ways in terms of how we tackle risk, and each has a method behind their process. And I think it would be quite beneficial if we could establish like a committee. I'm happy to also run with it, where we can just have a little bit of like a risk guidance approach in terms of how we approach risk. I'm hearing, it starts from, for example, looking at the budget, understanding what needs to be covered, covering the needs. I'm hearing, it's not about putting the person in a better financial position should they die. And I think that's a strong argument. Some people say I'm worth more dead than alive, and I don't think we should insure clients to be more worth dead than alive. Otherwise, their spouses might get ideas. And also, I think another point is maybe there's some best practices that each and every one of us are applying that, we're just not sharing and speaking about. I, for example, heard recently, and it's a concept that's coming from ICON, where there's a strong argument for rather covering income than lump sum, and particularly in the death, disability, and even critical illness space. So the logic behind that is rather cover the income need, so that it's in line with what the client needs, and then for anything lump sum related, it's one-off capital expenses. And I think that's does fit in line with lifestyle financial planning, because we do cash flow analysis, and then on top of that we plan for capital expenses as well. So also what they've said is that covering for income is actually works out quite cheaper by the providers than versus lump sum. And I think many of us who've been in industry for a long time, when your clients get to the time where they're supposed to be accumulating a lot of wealth, they're spending a lot of money on policy premiums for cover that they actually don't need, because the stuff just increased and increased and increased, and the needs diminished, and it's no longer applicable. So yeah, I said a lot now, but basically from this, I think maybe there is a need that might arise for like a commission of inquiry, as Cyril Ramaphosa will say.
Thanks,
Happy
Ryan.
to also be part of it.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and you've obviously been talking to a lot of broker consultants, because they're often the guys who come up with these ideas, and you know, at the end of it, there is still another policy or another benefit to be sold. So for me, it's, you know, we've also spoken about keeping things simple, and I think we're living in a time where clients are a lot more informed than they were in the past. And if someone does look at your work, you know, so setting lump sum disability to cover income, I mean, it can be done. But it's not the same thing. It's like, you know, I'm going to Kyalami and I'm taking my double cab. Can do the job, but it's really not what it was there to do. So I think, you know, you can go down a rabbit hole as well. I think spending more time like working out the need, like the need is the need. It's like, and I think the problem really is that too many advisors like paint everyone with the same brush. You know, it's like I mean, bond cover. I got a 2 million rand bond. Okay, I got a bond, but in 5 years' time, it's not going to be 2 million rand. Yeah, but what happens if, like, you know what, we can't cover what happens if, because we're taking affordability away, which could either be paying for another risk benefit that's really important, or it could be going into settling debt or savings. And I think that's the beauty of doing proper lifestyle planning. It shouldn't have been called lifestyle planning. It should just be called proper real planning. Is looking at what those actual needs are. And if you don't have 1,000 clients, and if you have the relationships with your clients that we should have, where we do meet with them once or twice a year, we know who they are. If there's a change in their life, they contact us. Does this affect my plan? That's what we should be aiming for. And there can always be curveballs that happen that are beyond our control. But I think if you really are doing proper planning, then the answers are the answers. I don't think we need to complicate it too much. Marguerite, what's your view? Because Marguerite, I'm asking you because you strike me as someone who hates selling as well. And but I mean, you must obviously deal with clients that have these risk needs.
Dirk, I tend to agree that the better your planning platform foundation is, the easier it is to actually sell, because you're just meeting the need. You're not trying to sell the client the product. And in my experience, the clients that I've worked with on that basis, I haven't had lapses. I haven't had them question why they need the cover. It's just part of their whole financial planning process. The question I have for the group is in terms of the good, the bad, and the ugly from a claims perspective. What has your guys' experience been in terms of claims? And are there specific companies to avoid, or are there others that give better service at claim stage that you could recommend?
Can I just come in quickly? Just for Ryan. So Ryan mentioned Icon, and the product that they market, and I think there's a very good, there is a space in our industry for it, is death cover paid out as an income. So instead of a lump sum going to a spouse, it's somebody who's inheriting is an actual income. And I think there is a space for that depending on your client's situation and maybe whatever. But there's other ways to get around that. Marguerite, just to answer your question, I have had claims, but it's policies that I have sold to clients myself. And I have had amazing experiences with all the companies. I mean, I personally also had a claim with Momentum with fibromyalgia, which is a thing that is asked in every single question paper. And I mean, or not question paper, every single application form. And as you know, it's very hard to prove it. And my experience with Momentum was amazing. But I've also had my policy for probably like 15 years. So my IP is with them. And I mean, I'm uninsurable at the moment. So because of that, which is not actually fair, because I mean, I'm functioning now, but I've had rare disease claims, I've had disability claims, Liberty, Old Mutual, Momentum. I haven't got a lot of clients with Discovery, but I've never had an issue with any of my claims, but it's the policies that I personally have written for my clients. Just something that we do for when we do write risk, just while I'm on that, is we ask the client to sign over their medical aid to us. And then when we do the risk application, that's obviously if it's not with an employer, but when we do the application, we actually go and get the transaction history from Discovery. Because I had an issue with the clients a couple of months ago where she was like, oh, I can't remember this and I can't remember that. She mentioned a few things to me and actually came out. She had had a whole lot of stuff going back 5-6 years. Because, you know, as you know, they do want to pay, but, you know, clients do forget. So that I just do as an added, like preventative care almost, so that I don't have an issue with the insurer saying, oh, but the client never told us that. Because the insurers do go back 5 years. They request 5 years transaction history from your medical aid and from any doctor that you've seen on that transaction history. So that's just something that we've now included on all our, like especially IP, which is, you know, they're very sticky with that.
Yeah, I think what's really, really important is the underwriting upfront. So we more and more, we let them do tele underwriting. We don't want to sit and ask these uncomfortable questions because then whereas if they're doing tele underwriting, it's the company and the client. We're not involved in that. And that's not a cop-out. But obviously the people who ask these questions are, I would imagine, are trained to ask them and to look for things. So I think getting the underwriting done upfront properly is vitally important when it comes to claim stage. But yeah, I think most companies do want to pay out. I think the companies to be careful of are your you know, the ones who will give you cover without underwriting. What do we talk? What's the big green one? Outsurance and One Life, and they market quite strongly. And you know, the scary part is that clients out there are simply not aware. And I have a serious issue with those companies because the reason they're able to offer the rates they do and the terms that they do is simply because most of those claims aren't going to get paid out, unfortunately. And they prey on the people who really do need that cover. So, yeah. Ryan, I see also you put in there about, again, and I know I don't want to sound like a stick record. I think you're looking for like kind of rules and thumbs, and generally, if you taking a client through this process properly, they're going to have, so a 25-year-old will have similar needs, but they're also going to have very, very different needs based on what their family makeup is and what they do. So I just think there's absolutely no shortcut for getting to know your clients well. If you get to know your clients well, whatever their needs are going to be there right in front of you. So
yeah, I'm not suggesting that we apply a rules and thumbs approach. I'm suggesting as a filter approach that being phase 1, for example, of a risk planning process. Of course, if you know your client and you know the unique circumstances, many a times a lot of those rules and thumbs isn't applicable, but it's more about filtering out the noise among the insurance providers saying I'm the best in this and that. You know, if you have your own framework or house view, if I can call it that, you narrow down who you know is the best in the industry. And there's certain things that you apply in principle, like always provide the client, for example, 5 quotes from 5 different companies. Obviously, you'll select within, you know, which is the best providers for the client's needs. I'm not suggesting that, you know, one takes a rules and assumptions approach, but I think there is a place for it, especially if it's well thought through and well researched, to apply to filter down to silence the noise out there.
Yeah, I think, you know, when you look at it, there's very seldom a massive difference in rates, I think, to be honest, when we're comparing apples and apples. And really what we do is, you know, if we don't get good service from someone, we don't deal with them because it reflects on you, and then often it just poisons the whole process. So we really do look at where do we get the best service. So, you know, once you've stuffed up with us, it's quite difficult to get back in. You know, Yeah, so when then we'll have views on certain suppliers. Like we don't like these rewards programs because we know they're making money out of it. What started off as something good, I believe, has become poisoned, and it's unclear, and it can get you into trouble down the line. You know, if we're selling life cover, we're selling life cover. We're not selling a gym membership or a free milkshake. So like we just, yeah, we steer away from that kind of stuff.
I think
Sorry, Shannon, I saw Andre had his hand up. Andre Boer. Andre, are you there? Okay, Shannon.
Yeah, Dirk, just sharing your sentiments. I think, and Ryan, from my view, so often with risk, so much time is spent focused discussing product-related detail, and that's where I just come back to keeping it simple and dealing with product suppliers that you had history with, that you have relationships with, that you know when it comes to servicing and claims that they're there to deliver, and that's really for me. And I'm honest with clients. I'm not an expert in the bells and whistles of the policies and the product providers. I want simplicity, and I want to know that they can deliver when they need to deliver.
Great, thanks. Anyone else have anything to add? Andrew, so Andrew, you got your hand up.
I do. How's it, Dirk? I just wanted to ask in terms of the record of advice, is there any points that you feel that are very, very important to put in there that wouldn't be obvious? Because insurance is about paying claims, and until a claim comes up, obviously we wouldn't know the outcome. And say, for example, that the insurer revokes it. Is there any points on the record of advice again that you would feel that we should really pay attention to?
No, I think you've just got to fill it in honestly and completely. I mean, if a client doesn't divulge something, there's nothing we can do about that. As Mel said, yeah, people do forget stuff, but they're not generally going to forget something major in their lives. But we don't have any control over that if they're not going to tell us in the you know, at the application stage. I think, you know, different companies, we know certain companies are much stricter with the underwriting. Yeah, we know. So like, and this is just, we know if we meet someone and they weigh 200 kilos and they don't look very healthy, there's some companies we're not even going to go to. We'll then rather, yeah, so we'll probably then go to Hollard first and get the client cover. And if we've got cover, we can then always revisit it and go to another company where, and I'm not saying Hollard aren't good, I'm just saying maybe another company with a benefit that we think might be better, but at least we get that cover in place initially. Ferdy, you asked me about the commissions. Historically, I did this for years. When BrightRock came in, I did as and when for probably 4 years. All I can say is I left a lot of money out there. The clients have got very little benefit, very, very little benefit. The when you sit and work out what you're giving up in commission and what is discounted back to the client, it's tiny, it's minuscule. This is another area where all these life companies, all of them, they know policies stay in force for what, an average of 7 years or whatever it is. So they've done their calcs. But you can give up the commission to make yourself feel better, but you're doing yourself in. Take it from me, 33 years in the business. It really is not going to make a significant difference. Maybe on a massive case, but you know, if you've got a client who can afford that, then it's probably not going to. You know, and if you're worried about clawbacks, then all you do is open a separate account, whack the money in there, and after 12 months, you know, you can pay yourself a bonus. But believe me, I've been down that road, and it's not worth it. 15 to 60% cheaper. Brian, I haven't seen that.
No, that's not
I've
true.
never seen that. So
yeah,
Not
clients,
50%, not 50% cheaper.
Yeah, 59% was hollowed in September last year for a client.
Sure.
15 is the lowest I've ever seen. The average is about 30% on the big four, big five. Hollard's com markup is generally the more aggressive that I've seen, and they're
Okay.
still cheaper.
I did it mainly
So,
with
yeah.
BrightRock, and I can tell you with BrightRock, I mean, that was most of my experience. There was very, very little difference. And I think again that comes down to how you charge in your fee model. Don't want to go down that rabbit hole now, but
can I just say something? I don't see any short-term people moaning about the fact that they add on 20% onto their clients and they're insuring an asset, that can be replaced. I mean, we're insuring a life that can't be replaced. So it always amazes me how, I don't know, I should have actually done short-term. I would have been probably in Spain in a mansion or something right now. But I don't see anybody complaining about, like when clients complain about a fee or something, I'm like, okay, well, just go pay your broker 20%. You pay them 20% on your premium. And they're like, no, and I'm like, you don't even look at your premiums. So.
But what I don't understand is if everyone takes 100% upfront on every client, why is it that so many advisors, why is it the average revenue per advice business, according to my business coaches, is something like 6,000 a year per client or 7,000 a year per client for the IFA businesses? Everyone, if I look at how much life business I do, and if I charged on it, yes, I would be earning a hell of a lot more, potentially, over and above if I added it to the fee I charge. What I generally hear from IFAs is tearful stories of not enough income. And then secondly, I know of 2 to 3 IFAs who've lost houses due to clawbacks. And
who are you talking to, Brian? Are you talking to Discovery Brokers?
I used to be in headhunting. These are wealth managers for reputable firms.
Oh my gosh.
The one clawback alone was 260K, and that was in 2008. And then what I also hear a lot is other people, never been able to spend the money because they're worried about business solvency. And so you can take the 100% up front. And that's, I mean, most people do that. I think Shannon and potentially myself are ones who don't. But why is everyone still not making enough money?
No, you're talking to the wrong people. I make enough money.
No, Brian, I think it's a good question, but I think that we're going on to like a business management thing, which is probably a discussion we should have as well. Yeah, it's I mean, I think did Shannon put it on the WhatsApp group yesterday, all the questions about youngsters, why they would go on, who did it, yeah. So I think that's a discussion to be had. And I think the reality is we ask a 25-year-old and you ask me or Mel, you're going to get very different questions. Because we've tried all different things, and I think I've one of the reasons I'm not against taking commission on risk is because when you're looking at young advisors, typically the clients they're going to deal with are younger clients who do need risk. And let me tell you, Brian, I've got massive respect for you in the way that you run your business and your life. I don't know if you've had a claim from a client. So when you do have a claim, I've got a very good friend who, if it wasn't for his PPS income protection, his family would be devastated. Okay. So I think, again, this whole discussion about fees, it's relevant. But you know what? If we woke up in a world where everyone did a great job, they were all proper lifestyle planners, I don't care how people earn their money or what they earn. If some people feel they can charge more, good luck to them. Lawyers do it, doctors do it. They all do it. If getting away is the wrong word, if they feel that they're worth it and their clients believe they're worth it, who are we to judge? So, yeah, I think that the fact is that the industry, the way it's set up, makes it very difficult for people to start, and especially for youngsters. But that's another discussion for another day. Brian, if you're going to earn, I've never earned 200,000 on a case. If I was going to earn that, let me tell you, I would definitely be squirreling that money away, the majority of it, because I would be fearful of, Yeah, and if you're going to lose your house over that, you probably shouldn't have bought that house in the first place, based on that kind of income. But I know there are a lot of people who do make that kind of money. It's frightening. We don't.
Yeah, it is. It is. And what I found is that the more over the years, the more proper financial planning you do with people, the more product work you do, and so there's greater opportunities to earn. And so it's just always been funny for me how people like will grab the opportunity. Often many advisors, and like Mel said, wrong audience, but it's just a case of it doesn't seem to necessarily solve a lot of advisors' financial problems. So it's just, for me, it seems like potentially not the solution. There is a bigger solution, and you guys obviously know what it is. It's to do more. But yeah, it's just for me, it just doesn't seem like it's a carrot that's always worth trying to grab.
Yeah, I
Not
don't
for
think
everyone.
if I knew the solution, trust me, I'd bottle it and sell it. I don't think it's that simple. I think when you've got a question why, if some people are entering this industry to make money, and that sounds terrible, but then there's a problem there. We all need to make money, but I think, and I get strange looks, but I think in our industry we try and compare ourselves professionally to lawyers and doctors, and my son-in-law just had a hernia up. The surgeon charged 3 times the medical aid rate. They're 34 years old. Where they meant to get that money from? So, like, where the ethics there? He didn't give him a quote. He didn't tell him that it was going to be 3 times the medical aid rate. So, where the ethics there? So I think what we do in our profession, and again, everyone wants to call it profession. It is, but when you see what that doctor did, I don't really want to be associated with that profession. I think what we do is far deeper, and because we have the ability to fundamentally change people's lives for the better, and we don't need something bad to happen before we get that opportunity. So if you're a doctor, it's a heart attack. If you're a lawyer, it's a divorce. I think we have the ability to make a difference when people least expect it. So I think what we do is more of a calling. If we're going to do this better, the offshoot is that we can make very nice livings off it, but it takes time. It's not going to come overnight, and so yeah, that's my soapbox. Ryan?
I just wanted to ask a question, and sorry to harbor on this point. I am just quite curious. Regarding commissions on risk policies, what have you guys noticed from a business standpoint to be more profitable, to take the commission upfront, or to take a portion of it upfront and the rest maybe as and when? Obviously, I mean, taking some of it as and when mitigates some risk for clawbacks in one's business. But on the other hand, it also builds up possibly the value of your risk book should you ever wish to possibly sell that portion of your business to somebody interested to purchase it. So that's also just maybe something I just want to explore with everyone. Thank you.
I think profitability, to take the money up front and invest it, is always going to be the best bet, because again, yeah, it's if you look at the maths, it's quite simple. Rather give me the cash up front, stick it in a money market account, or invest it elsewhere within the business, and it'll give me a better return. Otherwise, I'm leaving the money with a life company. We know they're going to make a lot of money out of it. So yeah, but I think for young planners, guys, are really got to get over this guilt thing about feeding your family. Just do a great job.
Yeah.
And get paid what you get paid.
Also, when you, sorry to interrupt you, Dirk, when you're doing like really great work for a client, the chances of them cancelling, they are going to think twice about cancelling that policy. If you like a Poorless Most, the first COVID that's going to hit, let me tell you, they will cancel that as quick as what they took it out. But if you're doing great work, I also, if a company offers as and when, I do take as and when, but I do quite a lot of business assurance. I do quite big buy and sells and key man. But then again, you're not to earn that kind of commission. You're not seeing a client once or twice or 3 times. I mean, we've worked on a client unraveling somebody else's mess, probably for a year and a half, just working with their trustees and lawyers and auditors. And I mean, we earned good commission on that. And I mean, it's probably 10 years later, and his policies are still in place. He's never ever touched them, cancelled them, you know. So, and I don't even see him. I meet with his lawyer most of the time, you know. We decide what we do with his planning. So yeah, I just think you've got to decide what's right for your business and I mean, if we take upfront commission, if it's under a certain amount, I'll take it. So it doesn't matter to me, because I can, you know, if something does happen, I can mitigate that risk. I've got the cash flow. So you've also got to take it, and it's also about how you're building your business. You know, we're building annuity income, and you know, and I mean, I know before I got into the industry, somebody said to me, is to try and build your annuity income. So lose the battle to win the war, but try and build annuity income that covers what your total expenses are every single month, because then whatever you are doing in terms of new business is like a bonus. You know, it's a bonus that you're building. But to try and get to that point in time, to that point where you're covering your annuity money coming in is covering your total expenses in the business. So, and that's what I've tried to achieve over these years.
I think that's the game, that's utopia. I think as well, if we look at other professions, you don't go to a doctor and ask him what his profit margin is.
No.
You don't ask a lawyer how much he's paying rent, or what his 2RC costs him or her. So it's and the reason I think it is relevant in this industry is because in the past, so many people have made so much money doing such bad work. So that's what's brought it on. But again, this group is about lifestyle financial planning. It's about doing it the best way we can possibly do it. So again, this whole fee discussion, it's relevant where people are not doing good work. Where people are doing good work, just charge the way that you're happy with. But there are too many youngsters out there who, what are the right words here? I don't want to say they've got a conscience, because that means then we don't have a conscience, but that are so worried about what people might think. And they're focused on let me tell you, clients don't have these discussions. Clients don't sit around on a Friday afternoon at Barney's having a beer and say, you know, I wonder what premium pattern this is, or how much my broker's taking it as and when. They're not interested in that. They just want great advice, and they want to make sure that they can live their ideal lives. So I actually, I put a post up the other day about this. I think there's just too much talk about this. And it's not that it's not relevant. I just think it's doing the industry a disservice, where we're looking at really good young planners who are entering the industry because they want to make a difference. I don't think it's serving them at all.
Yeah, I agree.
Guys, our time is up already.
Thanks, everyone. Does anyone know what time the rugby is today?
The Boks are only playing on Sunday, but New Zealand, France are playing today.
9:15, Mel. 9:15 this evening. Opening ceremony starts at 8, apparently.
Tonight at 9:15.
Kickoff, yeah.
And who's playing? Who did you say? New Zealand and?
France, New Zealand.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know that. Go Bokke.
Glad we could offer value.
Thank you so much, Barry.
Thanks, guys.
Everyone. Have a great weekend.
Thanks so much, and I'll see some of you guys on Sunday evening, if not before.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks all.
Thanks,
guys.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.